Hi, I'm Tata Babs.
And I'm Baby Melons.
This is the Booby Trap Podcast, Wine, Films, Murder.
Trap. Big, beautiful booby trap.
With this podcast, we delve into the world of classic crime and murder films, paired with a perfect wine. Today, we delve into the frantic crime film, D.O.A., as we pair it with a red wine blend with bold flavors and a smooth finish to complement the film's intense narrative and moody atmosphere. So let's go ahead and do our wine tasting. So today we're opening a bottle of black tie from the Wine Tree Vineyards. So this location is, this winery is located in Vienna, West Virginia. It's a full-bodied red wine, and it's a very small family-owned winery. Once again, we like to try new wineries, especially on road trips and exploring other countries. So this location was discovered on such a road trip. And my understanding is that per the bottle itself, that this wine was for sale in West Virginia only. So very exclusive.
Me too.
I don't have a lot of information about the wine, so I thought we'd just go ahead and do the actual tasting notes for ourselves.
Just so everybody knows, it is a very, very neat label. I like that label a lot. It's very Great Gatsby.
Absolutely. And, very it looks like, because I went back to the winery to see, like on their website, and it doesn't look like this particular wine is available, but they have other ones.
Hold on that bottle. Yeah. That is a really neat looking bottle.
It is very neat. We're going to start with sight. This is a red wine, like I mentioned. I feel like it's definitely purple. It's very dark.
Very dark. Ruby. I mean, look at that. Very
ruby. I think I still feel more purple, maybe like some ruby, but something very, very dark.
Garnet.
There you go. Smell. So for me, it smells like berries, like raspberries or cherry.
It should make sense.
So that dark fruit.
That makes sense,
yeah.
Right?
It smells very nice. And then for taste.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's definitely a sweeter wine. I feel like it's something in particular, like a port, or
it's lighter than a port, but yeah,
Madeira, something like. I know those are your kind of go-tos.
Yeah, so it's not as full-bodied as that,
right? It's not like a syrupy type of thing. It's definitely lighter than that. It's quite nice, actually.
But it doesn't have the nut notes that Madeiras do, but this is very, very, very nice. This would taste amazing with a steak.
Ooh,
absolutely!
It does sound really nice.
It does.
Well, let's go ahead and enjoy our bottle of wine while we watch the film. So, cheers!
Cheers! Let's get a steak.
Cheers! So, a bit of background about the film. So, today we are going to be watching D.O.A. It's from 1949. It's a film noir. It was directed by Rudolph Maté. And this film follows a small town accountant, Frank Bigelow, starring Edmond O'Brien, who visits San Francisco and discovers after a night out that he's been fatally poisoned and only has a few days to live. So the film's going to follow Bigelow's frantic quest to find who poisoned him and why, trying to solve his own murder, thus leading him through a maze of deceit and danger. And the films were known for its innovative narrative structure and intense suspense.
Okay, so Rudolph Maté was a Polish-Hungarian cinematographer, and he worked in Hungary, Austria, Germany, and France. And he collaborated with notable directors including Fritz Lang, René Clair, Carl Theodor Dreyer, and he attracted notable recognition for The Passion of Joan Arc, 1928. I'm fairly certain that's a silent movie. And Vampire, 1932.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that caught my attention immediately. Main character is Edmond O'Brien, who stars as Frank Bigelow. And a fun fact about Edward O'Brien is that in 1949, which I think is about the year that this movie was released, right?
Yep.
The Young Women's League of America, which was a national charitable organization devoted to single living, voted that O'Brien had more male magnetism than any other man in America. Oh, women adore ruggedness, league president said, and that magnetic appearance and personality most fully stir women's imagination.
Ooh, My goodness.
And their imaginative impulses. You take that from where you want to. You take that word from you want to. So, and he, as a lot of we're finding these actors, have you noticed that served?
Oh, yes.
Served in the military. Which most young men at that point in time, that was just what you did. It wasn't even optional. Sometimes it was expected. And I believe he was in the Air Force. And that's really, there's not a whole lot of big names in this movie.
Yeah.
I noticed.
So the film screenplay was actually written by Clarence Green and Russell Roos. They wrote a number of films or noir films as well as some westerns. But what was most interesting for me was that they wrote the screenplay for the romance comedy Pillow Talk with Doris Day and Rock Hudson.
I love that movie.
And I love me some Doris
You
Day.
You very much do.
So there were a number of remakes of this film. One was Color Me Dead in 1969. There was D.O.A. in 1988, which was Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. There was also Dead on Arrival in 2017, and most recently D.O.A., which is in 2022. Mm-hmm.
And it was allowed to do that. Did you know it was because it was produced by Leo Popkin, as we see that in the introduction. And he had a studio, Cardinal Pictures, short-lived. And then due to a filing error, the copyright wasn't renewed on time, which caused it to fall into the public domain, which is why we weren't able to enjoy it, right? And how these other remakes were allowed to happen.
Mm-hmm. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and watch the film D.O.A. If you're interested in joining us as we watch and make comments on the film, go ahead and check out our accessory reel. It's a bonus companion track. Otherwise, continue as we go ahead and provide a few snippets from the film, and then we'll discuss criminal themes that we've identified within D.O.A. So let's go ahead and get a quick snippet of D.O.A.
I want to report a murder. Sit down. Who was murdered? I was.
Well, go on, Doctor. What is it you're trying to tell me?
My tests reveal the presence in your body of a luminous toxic matter.
What is that exactly?
A poison that affects the vital organs.
Poison.
Yes, all right, promise. Is that a new outfit? Shall I make out the report on you, Captain? Better make it dead on arrival.
Now that we've watched the film, I really want to delve into some of the topics that arose as we were watching. So much to unpack here. The film was extremely fast-paced, so it was a bit hard keeping track of everything, but I definitely want to start off with kind of the big topic, which was about the poison. I'll start with the idea of poisoning in general. So, obviously humans they have a very long history of using poisons for various reasons. Mm-hmm. Obviously the first were it was used as weapons. Obviously they're trying to harm other people. In the medieval Europe, poison became a very popular form of killing, but it also they used poisons actually for different medical cures.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, think about arsenic and stuff like that.
Belladonna.
And also there was a lot of availability of poisons. So you have shops known as apothecaries. They'd be selling different, medical wares. It was open to the public. Mm-hmm. And from there, obviously you had a lot of access to different poisons that, they were trying to use it for cures. But, obviously this stuff has also been around to kill people too. So maybe in a smaller dose, you could cure, quote unquote, cure someone, but in larger doses, it would actually kill a person instead. It was because of all this easy availability of different poisons. And as you kind of move up more modern into the 19th century in Britain, Western Europe, the US, it led to a more public anxiety about having so much murder that occurred because of poison. Mm-hmm. So you had this kind of poison panic that was occurring. And so essentially, obviously the fear was further, publicized because of the different reports of trials and executions of which people would be poisoning, other people. But what's interesting, all these poisoning crimes actually really kind of helped develop forensic toxicology. Mm-hmm. So, which is kind of interesting and something, I love that sciencey type aspect of it. And then as we get even closer, let's say the 1940s, so the time period in which, you have World War II, and then after which is when this is happening for this film.
Right.
So there's this fear of poison just very widespread, and it's due to the poisons that were used during the warfare. You also had the potential for sabotage, and you actually did have some real life incidents that occurred that fueled that fear. So one example was there was the Oregon State Hospital poisoning. So what happened was that after eating a bunch of poisoned scrambled eggs, the patients were vomiting blood and withering on the floor in agony. And some died within a few minutes. Others, they died, hours later. So there were actually like almost 50 people in all that died from this poisoned eggs.
Remember Tylenol? Why do you think we can't get into a Tylenol bottle without a lock and key and a secret code?
I know, I can't open those bottles.
Without a secret code ring and a hatchet and a hatchet and a wrench to get in. But the Tylenol poisonings,
yeah,
it's
well, I mean, in this instance, it was definitely something that was commonplace. So it was actually happened to be poisons that were used to help for insects or rats or cockroaches and that. And so essentially, it acts really quick, but it could be mistaken for flour or baking powder or powdered milk. And so essentially, you only needed to have a little bit, and it would act really fast. So
I don't think you can even get rat poisoning anymore.
Well, I was thinking 9 to 5.
Oh yeah, I just thought that.
I just heard that song recently, right? But like the box, that one is for rat poison, the other's sugar.
The sweeten, the pseudo sweetener. It's the first thing I thought of too. And it is statistically, women tend to be the poisoners. That's their method of murder.
Yeah. Oh, like you're cooking. Oh, what's the other? It's with Kevin Kline and his wife, because he's like having affairs left and right.
Oh, I Love You to Death.
I Love You to Death.
Love that movie.
My
The movie is incredibly hard to find, but the famous line in that is, "We are doomed to be together." But yes. Well, because she gave him some type of sedative, was the only reason the poison didn't kick in.
Right.
So they tried.
Well, and they got shot. He got shot.
Oh, it was all kinds of stuff.
Keanu Reeves was,
it's Keanu Reeves and William Hurt.
Those are the guys that are
the hitmen. Supposedly based on a true story.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
very good movie. Again, it's hard to find, and River Phoenix was in that as well.
That's true. Yeah,
because he had a crush on her.
Yeah,
but yeah. Funny movie, hard. I get it, But
yeah, just thinking about films and other stories where the female tends to be the poisoner. Which once again, they're the ones that are cooking the food. They can kind of add it into the food, or hey, let me do your laundry, or whatever way that your day-to-day household activities could then be very simply include the poison as part of that.
There was a woman, one of the few serial killers. You could really classify her that. She was in Sacramento, and it was an elderly woman who ran a guest house, where men could rent a room, and she, so it was a bed and board both, and she was poisoning them, and they kept disappearing. She was poisoning them, taking their social security checks. Very, very famous case, because anytime it involves a woman, that does multiple killings, that always ends up being famous. I don't remember her name, but she was actually an elderly lady that was doing this to other elderly men.
Is that similar to a arsenic and old base?
I was just getting there. You're reading my mind tonight. So it's like there's another into that movie. That'll be sometime in one of our episodes, and that's where they were they were killing the elderly bachelors, just doing them a favor.
Yeah, they were alone, so
poison comes out. And you start getting into more modern films, and you have Reversal of Fortune, which is a true story, and some of the newer insulin is used as a type of poison.
Yeah.
So getting more and more advanced, because true poisons are harder and harder to get your hand. You just can't go out and buy arsenic and cyanide and things like you used to. They move, and it's harder to detect. Arsenic is still still can happen if you have access to it. And from what I understand, arsenic is a incredibly horrible way horrible way to go. So this guy, this movie, would it happen this way? No. Let's face it. By the time he
No.
couldn't have ran. Of course, again, you wouldn't have got past the credits. Could he have ran around all over town doing what he did?
Well,
no.
so you have the one guy that also got
yeah.
poisoned in like half an hour. He was,
Oh, yeah.
on the ground dying essentially.
Yeah.
And he's hours, like day later, essentially, he's still running around.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it goes from, I'm still okay, I'm still telling my story, and then I'm done. And then let me just like plop onto the floor really dramatically.
But there wouldn't have been a movie if
it's true. I do feel like maybe the way that he the way that he died at the very end could have been done maybe a little bit better, but otherwise it just seemed like and I'm done and scene.
Well, it was every scene pretty much went that way. It was like
that's true. So maybe it was just keeping with that whole okay, and we're done. You
weren't in any scene for any great length of time.
No.
So yeah, interesting.
Kind of jumping back to the poison. So I was. Once again, that ending where it talks about how it's the luminous toxin, it's, it describes a fictional poison, but there's actually, the medical facts are actually authentic. And so the toxin is actually a descriptive term for actual poison out there. And so it's credited with this medical advisor or technical advisor, Edward F. Dune, MD. And so when I went to kind of do some research out there really wasn't anything specific, like other people researching, etc. That, oh yeah, this is exactly what it was. And obviously, they want to say, oh yeah, it's this rat poison, and you just throw it in the coffee and the person dies. Because just imagine after this film goes out, how many people? Wow, there's certainly a lot of people who have died of rat poison recently. Right. So that's obviously, there's a reason why they're not saying what it is. I was looking up things like this Edward F. Dune, and there actually was a medical guy that had that name, and some of the stuff that he looked into. So there's a couple papers, and there was I found a guy that was in a certain hospital, and his area of expertise is okay, just kind of looking around. So there was an antifreeze poisoning, and they used some kind of handheld ultraviolet lamp, and so it would actually do a blue-green glow. Mm-hmm. And I guess my understanding is I think that was urology type of glowing poison. So it's just a technique to they would use the urine.
Oh wow!
And it was kind of more of a diagnostic tool. So in cases of antifreeze poisoning, so it was maybe it was antifreeze. It was luminous, right?
Right, and antifreeze is still used.
Yeah,
there was a woman tried to kill her daughter with it because it's got apparently it has a very sweet taste to it. Mm. So it can be hidden. There's not a bitterness to it.
Well, and the reason why this is a possibility that it was maybe antifreeze poisoning or that area is that there is an Edward F. Dune, MD, that was specializing in urology, in which this sort of activity might happen. So I found his name in this Saratoga medical staff directory. I was like, who knows? Maybe.
Right.
Another item potentially is iodine poisoning, and that can range from being mild or severe, and it could have, your stomach's upset, you have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, etc. Maybe delirium, confusion, shock. But once again, there's this paper from Edward F. Dune, MD, as a co-author on talking about this new iodine compound that's kind of being created.
Well, they do that in X-ray or certain types of, not X-rays, but certain types of where they'll
it was for X-rays
with contrast.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, and that one was done, I guess, more for gallbladder.
Right.
They'd do the X-ray, and it was to see the gallbladder. And so that was specifically for that. But once again, found an author with the same name dealing with this sort of potential poison or stuff that could be a poison. And then the material that Bigelow, he signed off on that bill of sale, iridium, it's something where, the likelihood of being poisoned from that is probably not likely, But, with the small amounts of it, it actually would be, the solution would be green, while the larger amounts actually change the color to blue. And I guess the iridium salts are known to be highly colored, so it's possible maybe it was the iridium salts or something that he, considering, once again, that they have access to this type of compound, like maybe that's where that's the poison that was used. So there's definitely some possibilities. Well, there's nothing concrete, and I don't think that there ever would be, just because they don't want people to know how to kill others.
Well, absolutely. And some of them you can eliminate because antifreeze, I don't think so. Only because, and as I keep talking through this, I keep thinking I know way more about poisoning than I should. But you know me, I watch a lot of these forensic files and all this other stuff. So I swear I don't go around poisoning people. I just watch a lot of the shows that talk about it. So things like antifreeze are cumulative. Like so it's like you're not going to get, unless you get one large fatal dose. It usually it's a buildup, and a lot of poisons are like that, where they build up in the tissues. And I mean, because there's been some arsenic poisonings where, they look and they can tell like spikes and how long, and sometimes they've been getting poisoned for months. And then somebody finally gets tired of trying to kill them. Like, they're not dying, I'm tired of trying to kill them, and then they give them one great big dump. So it'd have to be, I like the iridium idea just because it'd have to be something that ties together, that first has to be obviously poison, but also something that wouldn't be cumulative to where it took multiple doses to do it, or wasn't fatal as soon as immediately. Right. I would like it to look in, I don't know if you heard of the Iceman, and he was a hitman for the mob, and he would sit next to people in bars, and he would kill them, and he would have something on, like, that would absorb through their skin. Wow. It'd be interesting to know how he did that. But there are poisons out there that can take them. So what is that poison? It's going to not drop you immediately, not going to take a massive dose, and it's going to do like this, where it's like over a period of time until it finally just... And ironically, what I was thinking, when he's doing all that running around, it's like, you're pumping that through your system a heck of a lot faster. And sit down, take a break.
He's running up and down the hills of San Francisco.
I know.
I know that you could get drunk just on a little bit of wine walking up those hills.
Oh, yeah.
Because that has happened.
Oh, yeah. But he was
running all over the place, up and down, and they're all around.
And pumping that through his system. It's like, go sit down, take a break, phone this stuff in,
Well, that's why they probably need that kissy time. So,
and time to, slow down, time to take time to smell the roses and appreciate a woman's dress. These things are important.
Absolutely.
He's complimenting one woman on her dress and, beating the hell out of another one. But back to my original thing about the movie is that I see why you really, at no point did I feel sorry for him. I really didn't. I was like, and I'm thinking that was probably purposeful, because I don't want to see the good. Remember I said, the good guy has to win. That is a theme in movies. It has to have, and it did have an happy ending. That wasn't a bad ending. I hate to say that, but he was not he was despicable.
He wasn't a likable person
from the very get-go. So you're just like, I feel kind of sorry for her. And and it's nice that at the end he's like, call Paul, which is Paula, and then drop dead. But
honestly, at that point you're just like, good for her. She can now, maybe she needs a little time, but hopefully she'll move on with her life and find someone who's more worthwhile for her.
Put her energy.
Put her first or whatever.
So it's a shame. It's like, so you're just like, oh well, bye bye. The only thing in the movie you're watching through it is, can we hurry up and get to it? But at the same time,
I'm just like exhausted having watched that film. I'm like, I'm so tired.
It's like I say hurry up and get through it, but it's like, please don't hurry anymore, because I'm struggling to keep up. I spent a lot of time on this movie paying attention. I really need closed caption on this one. Paying attention. I'm like, would they? Because I
think you paid more attention than I did, in the sense of like, you remembered the characters' names. I'm like, what? Who? What? Like, just trying to keep up with all them.
Let's talk about Chester.
Oh my goodness, Chester.
No, and I just did a little bit of research on because I had to. Because I was like, watch the credits. I want to know who this guy is. And this guy is was a decorated soldier, Purple Heart, Medal of Honor. Man, can you imagine Can you imagine serving with that guy? That is I have seen lots of villains in movies, and the way he was just doing the eyeballs back and forth.
My goodness,
I don't even know what the guy was saying. It didn't
he was
matter.
saying nonsense
Who
at some
cares?
point too.
Who cares?
He was creepy,
and the way they did. Yeah, that was probably the best part of the movie, and because the way they did the shadows on that. If the director there took some time with that. I noticed that when they were in the car and the shadows and the way that he did it and kind of narrowed into that guy just looked. If that director had taken that time, the rest of the movie, of course, again, they were on a very limited budget. We've talked about that, and
but I do feel like it was like everything was like, here's a scene, and the guy would jump from scene to scene to scene. But it was like the people who were in the scenes never really knew the rest of the story. It was just like, just make the scene as good as you can.
Yeah.
And it did make it so it was like very much like, well, because you were jumping around, but it's just like you jump here, you jump there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we saw very distinct cuts that were happening in the film. The editing was not done all that well in certain parts. So it was a very choppy kind of format, I feel.
And like you say, I would love to think that it was purposeful what the director was doing. Like, Hitchcock, everything he he did was very purposeful. Mm-hmm. Nothing was left to chance. I would like to think the same holds true for this one, that fast cut scenes, all this and all that fast pace was to set up a sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. Because I think I mentioned this during the movie, which is it was getting my anxiety ramped up because I'm like the frenetic, being like that. Oh. But I'm on the fence whether that was purposeful or it goes back to low budget filming styles. Yeah. And you have to get what you can get for as little money as you can get it. Use what you've got, whatever's available for set pieces.
Yeah,
I mean, that showing those people all standing on that sidewalk, that was obvious that they were watching a movie being made.
And the thing is, you didn't need to show that part.
No.
At all.
No.
And so I think maybe there's a piece of both. I do think that it allowed that ramping up, and I think that was something that they were trying to get. But I also think it was kind of a little bit of a shoddy work too.
It was. This is what a film noir is supposed to be. The way the director's approach. This is what it's supposed to be, and like a soup. I'm going to put some of this. I'm going to put a little bit of this. I'm just going to throw it all in a pot, and it'll become soup. And as you can see, when you look at actual film noirs that are done, tossing everything in a pot doesn't make the same soup, right? It's how it's prepared, not how it's thrown in the pot. So is it a terrible movie?
No.
It has some really, and again, the price of admission was that car scene with Chester, because
I mean, we were both of us were deeply disturbed by Chester.
I would not want to
and it was creeping me out for sure. And so in that of itself, he did a fabulous acting.
I want to see a movie about Chester.
Oh my god! Oh, that's absolutely. Back then. Yeah,
Chester. And the thing about it is, he really didn't have that much of a film career. This was, I think, what he said, Neville Brand.
Yeah,
not a huge film career.
Yeah,
but a decorated war hero. So he probably scared the Germans to death, because if I saw that coming at me, so I guess we want to probably just do a wrap up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and maybe summarize, what we talked about today in the film. Or in the podcast, I should say. So, so we end up tasting the Black Tie, which is a full-bodied red wine from Wine Tree Vineyards, which is located in Vienna, West Virginia.
I didn't even know there was a Vienna, West Virginia, by the way.
I did not either until we drove into it. Well, obviously, we drive looking for wineries along the way. So
but I know there's a Vienna, Virginia.
Yes.
So,
but yes, not West Virginia. So we end up pairing that wine with the film D.O.A., which is from 1949 and directed by Rudolph Maté and starred Edmond O'Brien. And once again, those were like the main names, really. I mean, I don't think. The producer, I guess, was it Poppin, but ultimately, like the other actors and actresses really weren't.
There were known. You had the bartender probably had the biggest career.
Well, that's true, because the bartender, which you noticed. Well, okay. No. There are two: the bartender and the secretary. Yeah. Both of those actually had a lot of career in TV. And they were known very much so in the TV industry. As we've mentioned multiple times, the film was produced on a very small budget, and it had a lot of like stolen scenes, which is typical of guerrilla filmmaking. And then when we talk about that, guerrilla filmmaking, this is like, once again, low budget. It's going to have a very small crew members doing maybe multiple types of activities. They're usually filming in a real location rather at sound stages, because that's going to cost you money to like rent out that space. They're going to be taking shots of scenes very, very quickly, and not really a lot of preparation time. And then also, the filmmakers are going to have to improvise and adapt to whatever circumstances happening at the time. And then, once again, they're not going to be, they're probably shooting a lot of scenes that aren't really allowed, like, unpermitted. So they don't have permits to do that.
Right. So, yeah. And then one of the key scenes, I think, is because that's where he was poisoned, which is the jazz club scene. And it's one of the earliest screen depictions of the budding beat movement of the 1950s, a cultural movement that gained prominence in the 50s. I don't know if you saw the guy. It's like, oh, I'm feeling the groove, man. It's like,
it's all about jive.
Yeah, and there's no way you're not doing some heavy-duty drugs to get like that. But it was all about the jive. Well, and I think they're just doing it's the early kind of hippie movement, right? Rejecting mainstream values. And it's centered around a group of writers and artists who challenge societal norms, impacting subsequent cultural movements like hippies, and probably Andy Warhol might fit in there someplace. So that was very unique to see, and that felt kept to the theme. The jazz, the jive felt very frenetic.
Oh, absolutely. So I agree.
It was a perfect club scene, the type of club, and the music that go with the movie. You wouldn't want to go into have it be a nice little, because the music was just
right, like
quick and fast paced.
From that moment on, from that scene going on, everything was fast paced and kind of a little bit of a frenzy. So we had mentioned before, like, there's this really great quote, right, that comes out of, and it's the first scene. I want to report a murder. Who was murdered? I was.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great. I think that's just a fabulous quote.
It is.
And of course, how was he murdered? Poisoning. And, obviously poisoning has been around human history for a very, very, very long time.
Ask Socrates, he knows. Well, he did know.
And so, it's used to kill people, but it's also been used for treating illnesses too. So it's an interesting scenario where, poison can actually be used for both good and bad. And so once again, we talked about the luminous toxin, and we kind of conjectured possible poisons that could be.
Iridium camp.
I do like that idea of the iridium,
like okay.
But it was interesting because, like I said, I saw that technical advisor, Edmond F. Dunn, and there were some possibilities, right? Yeah. Just based off of like, hey, here's this person who's a doctor that has the same name, and he happens to work in areas that you could possibly see luminous poisons. So anyway, kind of very, very interesting. I mean, if anybody knows more of history about this and what it could be,
that'd be hear about that.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating,
intriguing. You know how I love to talk about poison.
Very true.
I swear.
Well, you know what? That's it for today's episode. So definitely join us next time as we explore another classic crime film and its perfect wine pairing. Be sure to check out our previous episodes on the Booby Trap podcast. You can ask Siri, Alexa. So follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook platforms.
And as always, on any of those platforms, answer our trivia question of the evening. Tonight is, what was the profession of our poor gentleman in today's movie that was poisoned? So what was his profession?
Great.
So if you know that, please reach out. And
absolutely.
This one I know. There's been ones that I don't know, and I need you to tell me, but this one I actually know. So yeah, do that.
Well, answer any questions that we might throw out there, because we'd love to hear back from you. Definitely keep in touch, follow us, interact with us. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.